Hello everyone, sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties, but we are live now. So let me just set myself up here on my computer so I can see if anyone is joining me. The chat is on. If you're on your computer and you look to this side of me, you'll see the streaming chat box. So you can chat with me live while we're on here, or if you're watching the replay, you can always put comments down below. And if you want to suggest a topic for one of our live sessions, please feel free to do so if you have any questions. But I would really love for you to join me live so we can chat in real time. So I have a list of things to talk about today. Can you raise that a tiny bit? Okay, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Actually, can you just, it's not showing the candle. Can you just, and it's showing too much over here. Sorry if anyone's here. There we go, that's better. Thank you, my director. So I do see that somebody is watching me live, so hello, sorry for the technical difficulties. Sometimes YouTube just does not want to cooperate, and it was doing it vertical, and I had to cancel it, so okay, well here we are, we're ready to go. So what I wanted to talk about today, I have several topics that I want to talk about, but if you have any questions, feel free to put them down below. I'm going to take a sip of water and we'll get started. Like I told you last week, I was really going to concentrate on being good and not eating any junk, and I haven't been drinking any wine. So now that we are 10 days into the new year, I just want to talk about how I feel. It took a few days to kind of get all the junk and stuff out of my body, but then once I did, and I've been eating really healthy foods, I've been eating like gorgeous vegetables, and I've been making salads. I had a niçoise salad the other day, which I made a video for. The day after that, it was so good that I wanted to do it again, but I didn't have all the ingredients, so I sort of made something similar to it, and it just made me feel so good, because when you eat vegetables like that, you're just feeding your brain, and I felt so alert and felt so alive, and I got so much accomplished in these past few days, especially without having the alcohol. Just having those sugars and stuff in your body. I mean, I don't ever drink to get drunk, but when you do have a couple glasses of wine at night, the next day when you wake up, the sugars are in your body, you just feel a little bit dull. And I haven't felt that way, and it's been great, and I've just been so productive in my writing and all the things that I want to accomplish in the day. So I highly suggest trying to give up wine for a little while and just see how it makes you feel. Wine is gorgeous, and it's, we love it, and I don't intend to not drink wine for the rest of my life. But to just take a break from it a little bit and see how it affects your brain, it's really interesting. So I just wanted to give you a little update on that. I'd like to go through the frequently asked questions I get, because I think that when I answer a question for someone, it could be very beneficial to everyone watching. So I keep getting questions of people saying, can I eat this? Can I eat that? Can I eat pasta? Can I have coffee? What if I don't like fish? And all these different things. And this isn't a diet. You can really eat what you like. Just make sure that it's fresh, it's seasonal when possible, and that it's minimally processed. So you can really eat what you like in moderation. So you want to moderate your portion sizes, so you're not eating as much food as you normally would if you're trying to lose weight. But just try to eat real food. And you have to cook. I know that's the tough love part, but you really do have to prepare your own food most of the time. And just doing that will do wonders for your life, because I think the food industry has convinced people that it's hard to cook and it takes a lot of time, and it's really not that hard to cook once you learn it, especially if you get a few basic meals down that you really like and you make over and over. And it really doesn't take that much time. I mean, when I make dinner, it might take me a half hour. Sometimes if I'm doing something a little more complicated, or if I'm doing something like if I'm roasting a chicken, of course you have to wait for the time for it to cook. But it's not all preparation time. It's not all busy work the whole time you're doing it. You can get a chicken in the oven and then just wait and go about your business. So I think the food industry has done us a disservice by convincing people that it's really hard. And because they want you to buy prepared foods in the supermarket, expensive prepared processed foods, meals that are already prepared. But those kind of meals are so full of sodium and extra sugars and all kinds of unpronounceable ingredients. That it's really, the Mediterranean diet isn't, I always say it's a lifestyle, because it's not really a diet where we exclude foods. We're not doing low carb, or we're not doing, I don't know, what's something high protein, all those other kinds of diets. You're just eating real food. You're eating the way that people who live in Mediterranean countries eat. And they don't go to the supermarket and see what kind of bread is in the bread aisle that has 27 ingredients on the label. They're either making bread themselves, and now I know who has time to make bread themselves all the time. It's fun once in a while, but I certainly don't want to make bread every day. So I go to the bakery and I buy bread at the bakery, which I know only has 3 or 4 ingredients in it. So there are ways to have things be convenient for you, but still be healthy. It's all about where you shop and making choices. So I just want you to realize, just kind of chill out about it. People always write to me, can I eat pasta? Yes, eat pasta. You don't necessarily have to eat whole wheat pasta or chickpea pasta or lentil pasta. You can just eat pasta, but just eat moderate-sized portions of it. I mean, people in Italy eat pasta every single day. So pasta's not the enemy. We kind of got brainwashed into thinking that carbs are bad for us in this country. You need carbs in your body. They give you energy. You don't want to eat bad carbs or excessive carbs, so have a small portion of pasta. And, it's real pasta, and pasta is good, and it's good for you. And especially if it's prepared al dente, to where if you overcook pasta, it can get more sugars break down and it gets higher on the glycemic index. But if you prepare it al dente, and then you don't load it up with meatballs and sausage and things like that, you have tomato sauce or have it with some vegetables and things, and there are really healthy ways to eat pasta, not smothered in cheese and cream and stuff like that. Try to keep things clean and simple. And so you can eat pasta. You just have to eat it the right way. Does that make sense? I also get a lot of people saying, you're supposed to eat fish on the Mediterranean diet. I don't like fish. So first of all, I just want to say, how many fishes have you tried, really? I mean, be honest with yourself. Do you not like fish, or you just don't like the idea of fish? Or did you have it once to where you had a little white fillet that, was fried in butter in a frying pan and you were hungry afterwards? And, of course nobody likes fish like that, right? There are so many kinds of fish out there that are good for you. Buy a salmon steak, buy a tuna steak, or see if your supermarket has mackerel, or a nice trout. Trout fillets are very thin, and they hardly take any time to make at all. Put a little olive oil on, some salt and pepper, sprinkle some fresh herbs on it. That's all you really have to do. The simpler you cook them and just bake them in the oven, they're beautiful. And then maybe you can graduate to buying, like a whole fish someday. I've finally gotten to that point where, I thought when I was young I would have been totally grossed out by having a whole fish on my plate. But now I kind of have gotten over it. I realize that when I buy a branzino, which is an Italian sea bass, it is delicious. And I know it might not look all that pretty, but maybe give fish a chance. And if you really want to start slowly with fish, make a tuna salad. Buy a can of tuna in olive oil and mix it up with a little mayonnaise and maybe some celery and some onion or something, and there you go. You have tuna salad, and you're getting your fish portion for the day. So just try to lighten up about it. People get so paranoid about what can I eat, what can I eat. You can eat anything you want as long as it's real. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope that makes you feel a little bit better about the Mediterranean diet. I don't want people stressing out over it. The whole point of it is to slow down and to just enjoy your food and enjoy the process of making your food. And, it's really just a different lifestyle. It's different from the rushed processed foods that we're always buying. We're always in a rush. We're always grabbing a sandwich here that probably is too big for what we should be eating, or we buy a frozen pizza, because it's on sale 2 for $5 in the supermarket. I mean, that kind of thing. It's so easy to make a pizza at home. Or just buy a roll and put some sauce and some cheese on it and make a pizza sandwich. Yum, right? So I get stressed out emails all the time from people being like, oh my God, what am I doing? So just try to take a chill pill. That's what this lifestyle is all about. It's all about just being, a relaxed Italian. Does that make sense? So let's see what else I have on my agenda for today. I wanted to talk about what I've started to call myself lifestyle exercise, because studies have shown that people who live in the Mediterranean countries are healthier, they don't get as many diseases, they live longer, they stay healthier longer, they stay active longer, and way into their later years. And they live slower lives. And they do things like they socialize, and they do a lot of things by hand. So what I mean by lifestyle exercise is, they might tend to their garden, or they bake bread. Have you ever kneaded bread? It's the best arm workout in the world, or they might take a walk. It's just things that are happening. They're active in their daily lives, even when they're 90. Like they'll still take a walk to the store and buy their bread for the day, or go visit their neighbor, or they'll putt around in their garden. And that's all exercise that you're getting just by living your life, not by going to the gym. Or, if you want to go to the gym, that's fine too. But there are things that you can do in your life to just try to be more active on a regular basis. And so that's what I call lifestyle exercise. So try to think about ways that you can add lifestyle exercise into your life. So a lot of gyms have been closed over, throughout this pandemic, and some of them are opening up now. But like I said last week, I'm really not comfortable going back to my gym yet. I just feel like it doesn't feel germ-free to me. And maybe I'm sure they're doing everything they possibly can to keep it clean. I'm just not into it right now. So I'll try to work out at home, or like I said, just try to take a walk around your neighborhood, or if you have a little backyard, maybe you can plant some herbs or something like that. So just try to get more movement naturally throughout your day without, like, again, I'm saying, don't stress out about it. Don't stress out about, oh, I have to go to the gym. Just try to, be more active, okay? Another thing somebody asked me, a lot of times I get comments from people saying, I wish I had your supermarket near me. You have so many wonderful vegetables and things in your supermarket, or I do have a lot of farms near me. But it is really tough in the winter to eat the way that we do on the Mediterranean diet like we do in the summer. Because in the summer there's such a bounty of vegetables and tomatoes and everything that's so in season in the summer, all kinds of beautiful fruit. In the winter it's a little tougher because we do have citrus fruits, but we don't have, you don't have things like strawberries. And if you do, they're out of season and they're not real tasteful, flavorful. But there's all kinds of root vegetables and things that are available in the winter, and they're perfect for making soups and stews and really hearty kind of meals. So I have an article, I'm going to link it down below, that is about how to stay on the Mediterranean diet in winter. And it has some suggestions on there for recipes that I have for different kinds of soup that I've made, different kinds of stews. And so just because it's not summer and you feel like there's not a lot of fresh food available, there is fresh food available. It's just kind of those weird vegetables that we don't really eat very often, like rutabagas and parsnips and turnips. I remember the first time I saw a rutabaga, I was like, I don't even know what to do with this, or a turnip. Well, I never grew up eating turnips, so I didn't even know what a turnip tasted like. But turnip soup is amazing. It's something that I really have grown to love. So give some of those vegetables a chance, and check out that link that I'll put down when we're finished here, and you can see some recipes of how to make them. Another question I've been getting a lot, I'm going to take a sip of water. And I see I have some people joining me, so hello. Kristen, oh hi Kristen, good morning from California. Oh, California, I'm sure you're warm. We're so cold here right now. Lots of beautiful supermarkets in California, lots of food in California. Maestro's Dream Cafe, can you go over cruciferous greens for us? I'm not used to anything but spinach, and kale doesn't do it for me. Maestro, kale doesn't do it for me either. And I see people online sometimes where they'll say that you have to massage kale to make it more palatable. I have an article actually that's called 10 greens that you can eat instead of kale. Because there was a study done a couple of years ago to see what was the healthiest food on the planet, and they were really concentrating on leafy greens, and kale was like number 7 or something. It wasn't even in the top 5. The healthiest one actually was watercress. So there's watercress, and there's spinach, and there's Swiss chard. Sometimes you'll see it called rainbow chard, or red Swiss chard, or white Swiss chard. Comes in different colors. And chard is amazing because it has a thick stem that goes through the leaves. So you can eat the leaves, but you can also eat that stem. So sometimes I'll cut the stems off, and I'll cook them first because they take a little longer, and then I'll put the leaves in and just saute them a little bit in a frying pan, or blanch them a little bit. And it's like you're eating 2 vegetables at the same time. And at my supermarket, they have turnip greens and dandelion greens and mustard greens. Mustard greens are so good for you. They're all good for you. Leafy greens are something you really should think about adding to your diet. But other cruciferous things are like broccoli and cauliflower. They're all sort of in the same family, and they're all super good for you. They're all full of antioxidants and all kinds of vitamins. So don't worry, Maestro, you don't have to eat kale. And I know when you buy spinach, like just yesterday, I had this big bundle of fresh spinach, and it was like in a bowl like this, and then I put it in a frying pan and I tried to saute it a little bit, and it shrunk down to like this much. So spinach really shrinks down. But you don't have to eat a lot of it. Just a small portion on the side of your meal is great. So whatever you're doing, try to add a leafy green to your meal. So thanks for your question, Maestro. One other question that I get a lot is, how long do things last? How long do they keep in the refrigerator? When I cook, if I have something left over, or if I make something like hummus or a bean dip, once I'm done eating it, I don't keep it in the fridge for longer than maybe 3 to 4 days. So eat it right away within 3 or 4 days, and you should be good. If you need something, or like if I make my cherry pepper relish recipe, which is the most popular recipe on mostlyMediterranean.com, but it's also in this cookbook. That can keep for about a week if you have it in an airtight glass container in the refrigerator. But most things I would say don't keep them in the refrigerator longer than 3 to 4 days, after you've already eaten them, because they're just going to start to grow. You won't even see it, but they'll start to grow bacteria, or they'll just start to really dry out. And if you do need to keep something longer, a lot of foods freeze really well. So I remember when I was a student living in New York, I would make tomato sauce for pasta, and I would make a big vat of it, and then I would eat it for dinner that night, and then I would break it up into little containers, and I would freeze it, and then for the next few weeks when I wanted to eat tomato sauce, I would just take it out and defrost it and then heat it up again. So you can freeze things really well. Or if you want to make a lasagna or something, eat what you're going to have that night, and if you know you're not going to eat it within the next 3 or 4 days, put it in the freezer, and then next week take it out and defrost it and then heat it up again. And so don't be afraid to freeze your food. Hi Rachel, thanks for joining me. Hello beautiful. Oh, thank you. I started the Mediterranean diet and I love it. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that because I love it too. I'm so glad that you joined me today. So what else can we talk about? If you have anything that you want me to address, please put it in the chat box here, because I kind of have gone through everything I was going to talk about. The only other thing, if nobody has any questions, I'd just like to tell you what I've kind of been interested in lately. So I've been looking a lot online about dressing for your body type, and I'd never heard of this before, but there's a Kibbe body type. Has anybody ever heard of that? And it was a man named, I want to say David Kibbe. I'm not sure what his first name was. But in the 80s, he wrote this book about body types. And he classified all these different body types. And it wasn't like apple and pear, and things like that like we normally hear. There's actually an online quiz that I took. If I can find it again, I'll put it in the link below if you're interested in what exactly it wasn't just about body type, it was also about facial features. And, so you can figure out what kind of hairstyle and what kind of clothes and all these kind of things. It was really interesting. Because he had like 12 categories or something that you could fall into. And it asks you, what brand of olive oil is the best? I'll get to that in 1 second. It asks you all these different things about the shape of your body or the shape of your jaw and the shape of your hands, and it was really, really in depth. And I ended up my type was romantic, which was kind of curvy, short. To be a romantic, you had to be 5'4" and under. And so it was just really interesting. And there's classics, like a classic would be Grace Kelly. She was a certain height, she was certain even proportions, everything on her face was symmetrical, and then it branched out from there, all these different types. So there was a romantic, there was like dark romantic, and for people who are taller, and then there's gammon, and I don't remember what they all were because I really kind of only paid attention to what I ended up being. But it was really interesting about how to dress, and what kind of makeup and hair and stuff like that goes with, because part of being your body type, it also really matches your facial features too. Like I have very rounded facial features. I don't have any angular, I don't have a pointy nose, or, I'm not like a chiseled chin, and I have, fleshy cheeks, and that's part of being the romantic body type. The type that they say is romantic, they try to give celebrity examples. And they said Marilyn Monroe, and I know I don't look like Marilyn Monroe, but when you look at her type, how she had a rounded kind of nose, and she had fleshy cheekbones, and the way she was shaped hourglass, and she was kind of tiny. Just really interesting. I thought it was it's an interesting way to explore and get to know yourself better if you want to learn how to dress for your body type and make sure that things really fit. And of course, you don't have to follow it exactly. So when I find that quiz, I'll put it down below. I just thought it was fascinating. So let's talk about olive oil. There is a passage in my book about olive oil. I don't know how to recommend a brand to you. I just buy what I can afford, to be honest. I like to buy two kinds of olive oil. So there's regular olive oil and then there's extra virgin olive oil. And extra virgin olive oil has a low heating point. So you don't want to cook with that all the time. So I use regular olive oil. Like if I'm going to make fish, I'll pour olive oil on a tray and put the fish down and then add my seasoning, stick it in the oven. I wouldn't do that as much with extra virgin olive oil. Excuse me. Extra virgin olive oil is great for drizzling over things, for making salads. I will cook with it if I'm doing something at a lower heat. But try to find olive oil that, like I like the brand Cento, if you have that in your supermarket. There's Bertolli. Usually what you see people using on the cooking shows, they'll recommend good olive oils. Some of them can be really expensive. I don't think you have to go crazy and buy really expensive stuff. I just bought some at Whole Foods, and it was just called a Mediterranean blend. And I know some people are are purists about their olive oil, and they only want it to be from Italy, or they only want it to be from Spain. And that's fine, but sometimes that can get really pricey. So I go through a lot of olive oil, so I can't really be, buying super expensive olive oil. So I'm really enjoying the Mediterranean blend that I got from Whole Foods. But in the regular supermarket, I usually buy Cento. That's what I find. It's an Italian brand, and I really like the flavor of it. It's not too... some olive oils can be really strong, especially if they're from a very specific region. They'll have a very specific flavor. I think the Cento is an overall good brand. Kristen, I want to eat more Mediterranean. However, my husband doesn't like the foods as much. I'm trying to find a balance. I found an extra virgin olive oil at Costco I like. The label says it's from Italy. I really like the flavor. That's great. If you remember what the brand is, let us know. Rachel says, I've been buying the California brand. Yeah, California has great olive oil. California has sort of modeled themselves, I think, after Italy. They make wine, they grow all kinds of vegetables, they grow olive oil. They have a very similar climate in California, so you can get really good olive oil out of California. So what to do if your husband doesn't like the food that you're eating? Let me see. I have a picky eater at home too. I have someone who loves everything I make, and then someone who has a list of 5,000 ingredients I don't want to eat. So they don't like peas, and they don't like salmon, and they don't like that. So I just try to balance out what we're having. Choose things that I know that we both like. I'm not going to make salmon for someone who really doesn't like salmon. But if there's an opportunity where I might be out somewhere, maybe I'll get salmon when we're out somewhere, so that you can choose what they want. So I just try to make things that they like, which fall into the same range. So, like if you have someone who doesn't like salmon, do they like chicken? Maybe they can have chicken. I have someone who doesn't like when I make too much. I like to make a lot of vegetarian meals, and they kind of get bored with it after a while. They're like, "Can we please have meat?" So sometimes I'll make meat. And I just won't eat it. If I make pasta, sometimes I like to make pastas where I make them up as I go along. Whatever vegetables I happen to have. So maybe I'll make some meatballs on the side, and I'll just put them on the table, and I don't partake in them, but they can have at it. So there are ways to get around someone who's not really into the food. But I would suggest, maybe you can hide some vegetables in food sometimes, like. When I lived in California, there was a pizza place called Fresh Brothers. And if you're in California, you probably heard of them. And they used to have something, I think it was called like Grandma's Favorite or something like that. It was something where they would blend vegetables into the tomato sauce, so that for kids who don't want to eat vegetables. And then they would use that, and the kids would never know they were eating the vegetables, but they were getting all those vegetables in the tomato sauce. So there are ways to disguise some food if you want to get them to eat more vegetables. Other than that, I would just say maybe try to, get them to try new things. Maybe make a little bit of something, but have an alternative for them. And I know that's, it's a lot of work to start trying to make. You don't want to make like 2 meals for people, but maybe you can have a variety. Sometimes I like to eat where I put a bunch of small things on the table, so I'm not making just one meal. And then we can pick and choose what we like to eat. Like sometimes I'll make Mexican food. And because a lot of Mexican food kind of falls into the parameters of the Mediterranean diet, even though it's a different side of the world. But you know, I'll have some guacamole, and I'll have some salsa, and I'll have some fish and some vegetables, and we can like build our own little tacos and stuff. And then they can pull in what they want. You can pull in what you want. So there are ways around it. So I hope that helps, Kristen. I'm so glad that we're having this chat and that you joined me live. So I think we've been going here for 25 minutes. So unless there are any other questions, I'm kind of out of things to talk about. I think I'm going to wrap it up. So I'm going to do this each Sunday now, and I'm going to try to do it at 11 o'clock. Last week I did it at 12, and I was just like getting nervous waiting for it to come around. I was just like, why did I do it so late? I just want to get started. So Kristen, great tips. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me, Kristen. And I hope it really helps. And let me know if you come up with any solutions. You know, share them with us. And if you have any olive oil that you like, please let us all know in the comments, so that you know, it's helpful for people to know. Because olive oil is one of those things where people are you know, a little afraid of it, because when you go to the store, there's so many different kinds, and some of them are really expensive. You know. But you don't really have to break the bank with olive oil. I would just say buy something that you like, enjoy the flavor. You know, like I said earlier, just lighten up about it all. Okay, thank you so much for joining me, everyone, and I hope you join me next week as well. And stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye.